The food and beverage industry is large, diverse, and full of specialized machinery. It's one of the oldest industries on the planet, but still full of innovation. From new products to higher volume, lower cost production techniques, this industry is always looking for new ways to produce the food consumers want at the best possible price. And vital equipment is there every step of the way. From simple ovens and conveyor belts to complex bottling and packaging machines, the food and beverage industry depends on equipment for industrial-scale food production. The food and beverage industry is critical to every economy in the world, and Nigeria is no exception. In recent years, the performance and contribution of the players in this industry to the Nigerian economy has grown in value and relevance. The World Trade Organization ranks Nigeria as the largest food market in Africa, with significant investment in the local industry and a high level of imports. The food and beverage sector is estimated to contribute 22.5% of the manufacturing industry value and 4.6% of the country's GDP. In 2018, the Central Bank of Nigeria governor noted that Nigerians spend an average of 73% of their income on food and beverages products. However, given the choice, a vast majority of Nigerian consumers will opt for food and beverages products made outside of the country. Nevertheless, in the last 5 years, more indigenous brands are coming up or expanding to meet the needs of the Nigerian consumers who prefer local flavors. According to IMF, Nigeria has the potential to be the fastest growing large African economy with a projected annual GDP growth rate of 4.2% in the period from 2016 to 2050. This will push it up the GDP rankings to become the 14th largest economy in the world by 2050. In terms of population, Nigeria will be the third largest in the world by that time, larger than the United States of America. Spending on food in Nigeria was estimated at almost $44 billion in 2017, with an average food spend per person per year around $220. Low-income consumers dominate. Growth in spending on food and beverage will see a bump over 2020 as consumers reprioritize their spending patterns toward essentials due to COVID-19 induced lockdowns.
The food and beverage industry is one of the oldest in every economy, which is why a lot of producers and manufacturers are looking for ways to better meet the needs of consumers at cost-effective prices. Hello and welcome to SME Hub. My name is Omobolanle Adeshi. Today we're delving into the world of food and beverage. And I have with me right here CEO, he's the managing director actually, Friska Farms Limited, Mr. Usman Imana. Thank you so much for joining us on SME Hub.
You're welcome.
So you do organic and natural food and beverage. What informed your choice of this industry?
Well, I wouldn't say that it was deliberate from the inception. It started as a side hustle. I had a day job and wanted to have something on the side that would bring in income. So it started as a farm, started growing moringa. This was in 2014. And we tried to grow and just sell and export, but it wasn't possible. So over time, we just started finding ways to make that investment profitable. And one thing led to the other, and today we are where we are.
The rest is history. Okay, let's talk about organic tea, because that's one of your products. What exactly makes a tea organic?
So we like to say natural more than organic. So these are teas that are made of herbs that have medicinal qualities. So we say natural and organic because they are grown without the use of chemicals, without the use of fertilizers, herbicides and pesticides. For instance, our farm in Edo State, we grow moringa that we use in most of our tea. We do not use herbicides, we do not use pesticides, we do not use fertilizers. The weeding is done naturally. For weed control, we use shaft from a rice mill. The waste shaft, we use it for weed control. It also serves to help retain water and serves as organic manure. So that the end product is natural and has no chemicals in it.
So walk us through the process, the production process when it comes to your organic tea.
So for the organic tea, for instance, our key ingredient is moringa, though we have other blends of other herbs that we put through. It's just typical tea production process. So the moringa is harvested, the leaves are harvested, and they are processed in line with how internationally how moringa leaves should be processed. And then they are sent from Edo State to our factory in Lagos. We have other ingredients that we blend with the moringa to create the flavors, the variants and the flavors that we have, and then there's a machine that processes it, that packages it, and then from there, from the factory, it moves to different warehouses.
So your factory is right here in Lagos?
Yes.
Do you have people who specialize in all of these things? What's the training like? How did you learn all of this?
So in terms of, the factory has, we have different streams in the factory. So the herbal tea is not the only thing that we produce. We also produce baby cereal. And puffed cereals. So we have factory workers, and there are different levels. So we have the engineers, the maintenance engineer, the electrical engineer. We have the production supervisor. We have supervisors for tea, for cereal. So different people are specialized. But in terms of training, of course, in the process of recruitment, we recruit people that have background in fields that are related to this manufacturing.
Did you get trained in this? And I'm also interested in what you studied.
Okay, so I majored in biochemistry at undergrad level, and my project was on moringa, which is why it's central to almost everything, and interest in everything that we do. We have the food handlers test, which is actually compulsory. Is a prerequisite for you getting NAFDAC certification when you
do you have that?
Of course. You can't get certified without that training. You can't get certified without the training, so we have that. And then from time to time, we go through industry training. But the thing about production is it's more of practical than theory. So you have to see how people do it elsewhere. So from time to time, we go for fairs, we travel, we visit other factories to see how the processes that they use, because it's very dynamic. It's not static. You keep on improving.
So how lucrative is this business, considering how much you put in and how much you get out of it?
Well, it's enough for us to get by.
So it's not all that lucrative, is that what you're saying?
So it's just like with every business. The truth is, we have our inputs, we have our processes, and we have our outputs. It could be profitable if we're able to scale properly.
Let's look at some of the things that are cost intensive when it comes to production.
So in terms of production, the greatest cost is from instability. So, and here's why I say
instability in what regard?
Different instabilities. So instabilities in FX regime. So if you're importing anything, the fact that you cannot plan with the price of dollar. So it's not even that the price of dollar is high or low.
The fact if it's not
volatile. Fixed, so you are buying today, if the dollar moves against you, and you can't plan. That's one. Instability in the price of diesel, which, instability in power. You don't have NEPA, you are relying on diesel. The price of diesel fluctuates. This affects your production in terms of running your generators. It affects the price of raw materials, because the transportation, most of the trucks that bring in raw materials from the farms run on diesel. Then instability in terms of security. Prices of raw materials would increase because farmers are not able to farm as much. So that's why I use the word instabilities. Is multifaceted. Different instabilities are the things that cost the pricing in production.
So how do you regulate this? Because a lot of manufacturers, what they do is pass on the price or pass on the cost to the consumer. Is that what you do?
So we've tried as much as possible to stay fairly stable. In the past 5 years, for our teas, for instance, we've only increased the price by less than 7%, and this is once since we started production in 2015. For our baby food, we've struggled to retain the price. We look at other creative ways to see how we can produce balance without, you know, without passing on the price.
What are the creative ways?
Some of them are trade secrets.
Trade secrets. Okay.
But the truth is, because our value proposition is affordable nutrition, I mean, if you look at our products, they are packaged to international standards, I mean, branded properly and all. And we could easily price them very high. But because our mission is to provide affordable nutrition, and because that is one gap that has not been filled, in most cases, nutrition and quality and affordability are mutually exclusive. So we are trying to bring that together and make sure that people are able to get food that is nutritious and it's affordable. At the same time.
How do you
palatable?
Palatable. Where do you get your raw materials from? Do you get everything from the farm?
Yes, so not our farm. We source from other farms as well. We get cereals from the north. We get cereals. We get some of the cereals from Ogun or your states. Of course, from our farm. There are some of the ingredients in our baby food that comes from as far as Jigawa and Kano and Yobe. So different parts of the country. Because of the instability of the FX regime, we've had to look at our production, and that's one of the creative ways to manage costs, to see how we, as much as possible, reduce the percentage of our inputs that we have to import. Okay. So as it is now, I can say that 95% of everything we use is sourced locally. Local, okay. Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. So what's the process of getting your products to your end customers?
So that's another part of the business, and it's sad that in Nigeria, because of the way the country is structured, if you've not gotten to the size like the big players, you have to do everything yourself. You know, ideally, if you are manufacturing and you're manufacturing at scale, you have no business with distribution and retailing. In structured environments, you have distribution companies and retailers that come and pay you upfront to produce, and then they take everything. So that way,
like courier companies?
No, not courier companies, like distribution companies. You have some of them in Nigeria. Okay. But it's difficult to get on board if you are not properly established. So distribution companies that will come and say, okay, you are producing this tea, I will come and be taking this amount every month. I will be in charge. It's my responsibility to go and resell. Okay. So I will take it to Okari market, take it to the different market, take it to the supermarkets, and I will take that headache, but I will buy it off you, and that's my role. So these are distribution companies. Like I said, you have a couple of them.
But you saying we have a couple of them, it means there's still a lot to be done in that regard.
Yes, I can tell you for free that many of the little manufacturers, sorry for my wrong choice of words, many of the upcoming manufacturers in Nigeria would give an arm and a leg for companies that will come and take their products, pay, and that's every manufacturer's dream, that you are manufacturing before you create your product. Somebody has paid you upfront. That helps with your cash flow and liquidity. If you are able to do that, you are able to get payments upfront, and then your suppliers of raw materials are able to give you on credit, then you can even have a treasury department, because you are getting the raw materials on credit. Say the raw materials, you get it with 90 days before you pay, and then the distribution companies are paying you money upfront and giving you another 90 days to produce. It means that you have money sitting down there that you can even put in the bank and earn interest. So your blood pressure will most definitely be stable.
Talking about blood pressure,
you have that kind of arrangement.
I'm interested in your target customers. How acceptable, or what's the level of acceptance when it comes to your products, especially the organic tea?
So the tea, because we've been in it for a very long time, so people know us, people have used us, used our products, and we have tons of repeat customers. So in terms of acceptability, yes, and then because of the way we've differentiated ourselves. So I have a science background. A lot of the herbal teas that you see out there, and this is not coming after anybody in particular, but when you see them online, you see that people put money before the customer. So people make vague promises, sell us huge prices, and when the customer buys and they don't get the expected results, you see that they write them off. So a lot of people will tell you that, oh, all these herbal teas don't work.
So how do you build that trust? How do you stand out?
So for us, for instance, because, and a lot of people that market this way are not manufacturers. Many of them are traders. So let's say I was a trader, I target that I'm going to bring in 1,000 packs. When I sell that 1,000 packs, maybe I'm making 3 million naira. My goal is to make that 3 million naira and I move on. So I will do everything possible, just market anyhow and sell. But for us, we have a farm, we have a factory, so we've invested. It has to be sustainable business. So we work with hospitals, we work with gyms. Our marketing is, we focus on consumer education for our market. So we teach about healthy lifestyle. We give people, we have a meal plan that we give people that are taking artists to help them, because there is no hard and fast rule. For instance, the weight loss, if people want to lose weight, you did not gain the weight overnight. How do you expect to lose it overnight? So as we have a process, so you are taking this tea, we have a video that guides you on how you take the tea, you impute, you add intermittent fasting, you know.
So you talked about the lack of distribution companies, especially when it comes to reaching your target markets. And I'm interested in how you access the market, especially now that we don't have that structure in place.
Okay, so it's not as if the structure is not in place, but you don't have enough, and they don't really cater to smaller players like us.
Okay.
So we are forced, you see that smaller manufacturers are forced to plan their routes to market themselves. So for instance, over the years, we've built our retail footprint in terms of modern trade. So the major retailers, we can say that we've covered close to 80% of the major retailers. If you are looking at the top 6 retail outlets in Nigeria, we have presence. We also have presence in pharmacies. We actually started with pharmacies with our teas because, I mean, it's healthy.
How do you get the product to them?
So there's a sales team. We have a sales force. We have a warehouse in Abuja and in Port Harcourt, so we have reps there. So these reps, you know, they are business development people. They move from pharmacy to supermarket. There are requirements for onboarding. And of course, we have all our documentation in place. So we conquer outlet by outlet, and then we have presence and we manage inventory, payments, and all. So we've been able to spread across more than 1,500 retail outlets across Nigeria. We are also trying to get into open markets. So in terms of that's the open market, because if you look at trade in Nigeria, it's less than 10% happen in your structured retail, in your modern trade structure. The bulk of the trade happens in the open market. That's the Okeari markets, the Itumotas. It's a more rugged terrain that we are trying to penetrate. But in terms of modern trade, we can pretty much say that we had a lockdown. We had to build it from scratch. But in an ideal environment, there should be companies that, you know, and these are business opportunities that a lot of Nigerians don't take advantage of.
So this business, is it cost intensive when it comes to capital?
Yes. There's no manufacturing that is not capital intensive. For instance, we have our factories. We have.
Oh, did I say cost effective? I meant capital intensive. Was that what I said?
Sorry, capital intensive.
Yes.
I think I was the one that missed it. Capital intensive. Okay. So there's no manufacturing that is not capital intensive. Even if you want to manufacture toothpick, it's capital intensive because you need a factory space, you need machines, you need raw materials, you need packaging materials. Then you now have to start looking at the cost of the sale itself to the customer, and then there's advertising, packaging, and all that. So yes, it is. But where I would say that it favored us is that we started from scratch. So we started as a farm and grew organically. So there was no one time that we just appeared. You know, we were growing, and we're still growing organically. So
healthy foods, which of course is a very, very important part of healthy living, especially as people grow older, you need to now be more careful what you ingest. Where do you see this part of the food industry? Where do you see it in the next 5 years? Because as it is, the purchasing capacity of the average Nigerian is really not what it used to be in maybe 10 years ago, or even 2 years ago. Things are changing, the prices of commodities are going high. So looking at the current situation of the country, especially when it comes to the prices of commodities, and a lot of people are now finding it more difficult to purchase food items, and so they opt for the more or the cheaper option, which may not be healthy. As someone who is a key participant a key advocate for eating healthy and eating natural. You know, you produce the natural tea and all of that. Where do you see this industry? Do you see it thriving, especially as the purchasing power of the average Nigerian is dropping?
So I think that regardless of the drop in the purchasing power in the average Nigerian, the industry is still going to grow. And there are a couple of reasons, especially in Nigeria. So for one, COVID, you know, during COVID, people started realizing that, the higher percentage of people that died due to the COVID virus were people that had underlying issues. Underlying issues are just more or less lifestyle ailments. People that are diabetic, have high blood pressure, obesity, and these are the things that you can fight with healthy living and healthy food. So that has created a consciousness. Now, the other thing is that in Nigeria, healthcare is very expensive. So it's better for you to avoid going to the hospital in the first place, because people.
But when the power isn't there, when the purchasing power isn't there,
so people
what
are
options?
They are going to start finding creative ways. Customer and the consumers are going to find creative ways of living healthy. You probably see people having home gardens where they have space, and of course, manufacturers will also have to find creative ways, because the truth is, we manufacture for the customers. I mean, we're not producing this thing so that we consume. We have to find a way that we meet with the customers so that they can buy. Else, we just have inventory that we cannot convert to cash. Which is why for us, we've looked like, just like you said, you know, most times, in most cases, cheaper alternatives are usually not healthy. You can even say that they are mutually exclusive. Healthy, natural and healthy and affordable. You rarely hardly see where they meet, but that's where we come in. And that's the reason why, you know, for us,
that gap.
It's more than just a business, it's a vision. That people, we don't really have staple food in Nigeria, and the cheap food that we have, really not nutritious. So which is why we have decided that, you know, we have to find creative ways to look at those foods that are affordable, how we can fortify them with nutrients to make them both affordable and nutritious, and fortify them with nutrients that are affordable and natural, and, you know, and in a way that they are still palatable enough for people to like them.
All right, that's a fine place to leave it. Thank you so much for your time on SME Hub. I've been speaking with Mr. Usman Imana, Managing Director of Friska Farms Limited. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, this is where we wrap it up on today's edition of SME Hub. My name is Omobolanle Adeshu. Remember, the conversation continues on all our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.